Good morning, guys. I hope that you are doing well. Today, we're going to be talking about presentations and how we give presentations. So, on Friday, some of us, hopefully all of us, but definitely some of us, are going to be giving presentations that we've been making in Life and Career Quest to the upper elementary classroom, Ms. Fennell's classroom, room 120. So what we have to do today is we have to learn about key presentation tips. So the information we're going to go through today is going to be about presentations from beginning to end. So including styling on your Google presentation. However, you don't need to worry about some of that because I have already, required you to use specific things. So some of this you don't have to worry about this time, but it's good knowledge for next time. So the first thing that you're going to do when you give a presentation is you want to give an outline. So you want to tell people exactly what you're going to be talking about, right? So for example, I will tell you today we're going to be going over the introduction. We're going to go over formatting and styles. And then finally, we're going to go over actually presenting your presentation and the conclusion, which will kind of wrap all of those ideas up. So let's start with our introduction. No one wants to see or give a bad presentation, right? We all want to be able to give a presentation that people are interested in, that they're engaged in. We don't want to feel like we're standing up there and everybody's staring at us or judging us, right? So generally the things that we should be doing is following instructions, knowing our audience, and being prepared. We want to follow whatever instructions have been laid out for your presentation, which for the most part you guys have already done. Then we want to know our audience. So remember, we are going to be giving a semi-formal presentation here. So you're going to want to make sure that you are not being super goofy. You want to make sure that you're understanding that the kids that you're giving these presentations to are younger than you. So we might want to watch some of our word choices, right? So you don't want to use super big words because younger kids may not understand that. And we want to be prepared. So we want to make sure that we've definitely practiced at least once giving the presentation. So what I want you guys to do is on the Google form that's attached to today's assignment, you can pause the video to do this. I want you to give your opinions on these two questions. So what are the three worst things a presenter can do? And what are the three best things a presenter can do? So go ahead, you can pause this video and write those on that Google form. All right. If you are ready to move on, obviously you've restarted this video. Let's continue. So let's start with formatting. So most slides should have some form of text, but not that are in like complete sentences or paragraphs, right? We want to just kind of put bullets or short sentences that kind of get the idea across. And we want to make sure that we're including some type of related image or graphic, right? So you could see here on the example, this is talking about dark matter. So they have the bullet point of galaxy clusters, galactic rotation curves, gravitational lensing, and WMAP data, along with this image of a pie chart talking about dark matter, dark energy, and atoms, right? Hang on. Having an image like Santa randomly on one of your slides, unless you're giving a presentation about holidays or Santa or Christmas, it's really not going to make sense. So having Santa randomly on a slide is not going to make sense. Now, you might be saying, why would I not want to have full paragraphs? So this is why, right? We want to keep our slides simple. No one likes to read a giant block of text. If you put a lot of text on your slides, people will not listen to you, what you have to say, or they won't read the whole thing. It's better to put a little text on the slide so you can elaborate verbally. Also, if you do this, you have a tendency to read directly from the slide, and no one wants that. So exactly what that said is the reason why. If you have a lot of text on a slide, nobody's going to listen to you. They're going to try to read the text, and then they're probably going to get frustrated at trying to read the text because it's a lot. Also, you're not going to be engaging with your audience. You're just going to be reading from the slide, and a big part of presenting, we're going to find out, is going to be things like eye contact and involving the audience in some way, making them feel like you're talking with them, not at them, right? Think about like when, I'm sure you guys have experienced this, when like an adult is like telling you something and you feel like they're not talking with you, they're talking at you. They're giving you those directions. You don't really like that, right? Well, nobody likes that in a presentation either. They want to feel like they're part of what's going on. So the next piece is we want to look at formatting. We want to keep figures simple. So this giant web is too complicated, right? There's a lot of lines. The text is really small. It's hard for people to read. Anything that you put in your presentation, you want to keep it simple. Remember, the goal is for you to maintain other people's attention while you're doing this, right? So this is going to get overstimulating. It's going to be too much. People aren't going to know what to do, and they're going to zone out from what you're saying because they're either going to be trying to read what each of these little words say, or they're going to go ahead and they're going to just be very turned off. So the next thing you want to think about is styles and fonts. The wrong font can definitely be distracting. So remember, with some of these things that we're going over right now, specifically like fonts, I've already required you to use a specific theme. So you don't necessarily have to worry about fonts entirely, but maybe the size of your font, right? So our incorrectly used font can be distracting. Fonts should be there to help your presentation. So you want them to be legible. You want to use larger fonts. So I would definitely recommend over 20. You guys can definitely see like when Miss Wolf is trying to fit a lot of things on a presentation, when I'm teaching you guys and I go a little under, that's when you guys are like, I can't read that. So starting with size 20 is probably the best. And then if you have the space, making it larger. You could see kind of here, this is way too small. I think this is font size like 10. Too small, right? You want it to be big, easy to read. So look down here, there are two different lines. One says, can you read this easily? Which I feel like can be read very easily. It's definitely over font size 20. It's a dark color on this light background. And the font itself, like the style of the font, is not like overly curly, QE, hard to read. Now, down here, I don't know if you guys can see it, but there is another sentence here. It says, what about this? It isn't like this weird green yellow color. It's pretty small. It's not tiny like this one, but it's small. And because it's a light color on a light background, it makes it really hard to read. So using neon colors like that, not smart. So this is styles backgrounds. So remember, I had you guys choose a theme, and so this should not be too bad for you guys to use. But you want to think about what background you're using typically. So we're gonna go on the picture first. So you could see here with the image, why is this a bad background? Well, because there's so many different colors, it's hard to pick one font that's going to show up clearly on that background, right? Here's a tip. You can engage your audience with questions. So including questions in some of your presentations, depending on the presentation, can help to engage your audience and make them more interested in what you're doing. If we're using just this plain, oh my goodness, plain black background, we have this yellow. This yellow can definitely kind of like burn your eyeballs. Some people don't do well with neon colors. So using like a neon color like this, even if you like it, might not be a good choice for some of your readers. Then you have this dark blue. Some colors can be difficult to read on certain backgrounds. Some of you might not have any issue reading this dark blue color, but I could definitely tell you that there are certainly people out there who would struggle because they can't delineate as easily between colors. So you want to make your backgrounds accessible to everyone. You want to make everything you do in your presentation accessible to everyone who might be participating in reading and watching. So the last thing is animations. Animations can be good, right? We want to definitely use animations if we can, but don't make your audience seasick. So this kind of didn't work because my animations didn't work, right? This one was supposed to like spin and be really funny. Yeah, if you're going to use animations, that's fine. In fact, for this one, I definitely required 3, but you don't want them to be too much. So there are definitely the animations that have the text swirl in and swirl out, or they like type one letter at a time. That can just be too much. It can get distracting, or it can be visually, it can turn some people off. So now we're up to presenting. So we want to think when we're presenting about attention spans. People have short attention spans, right? You guys definitely, we as teachers do everything we can to maintain your attention. But we know people have short attention spans. You want to make sure that you are catching their attention. So be enthusiastic while you're presenting, right? Make sure that you're maintaining their attention. Don't drown people in detail. Tell them exactly what they need to know. Don't go on this long, like 5-minute story on the side about what it is that you're talking about. You do still want to be engaging. So you don't want to give them almost no information. You got to find that balance. So there's somewhere in between. You kind of have to think about giving a presentation as a performance, right? So you're not just talking at people. You're also engaging with them. So, kind of like when teachers present, right? We kind of have this presenting voice, I'm sure you've noticed, where we're kind of trying to engage you guys. We're changing our inflection, so the pitches and tones of our voice, and we're trying to, cue in question with you guys every so often. Be creative. So when we're creative, we're going to do something that is different and refreshing. Now, with the semi-formal presentation that we're giving on Friday, some of this definitely won't be doable, right? Things like drawing from personal experience, or you may not be able to do, or asking for a volunteer, or using a prop. You may not be able to do those things just because of the nature that we're giving like a historical biography on an individual. But if you can find a short video about that kind of sums up something that your person did, or you could poll the class, ask them if they've ever heard about this person. You can't really use a prop. Give a very relatable example. So maybe relate something that this person went through to something that other people might understand and have experienced. These are all different ways that you can kind of be creative and engage your audience, right? They're not the only ways, but they're definitely some of the ways. So we have to talk about humor when we are presenting. So humor can definitely be used in your presentations, but you had to remember about the tone of the presentation you're giving and the situation it is, right? So this is a more formal presentation. So we're definitely going to want to make sure that, pardon me, we're definitely going to want to make sure that we are not making too many jokes, right? Because we want to uphold how kind of serious in nature we're talking about someone's life, historical. This is. You can still use humor, right? But you need to make sure that the jokes that you're using are relevant, appropriate, and help make your point. So the example that our presentation here is giving is Giardia. Giardia is, I believe it is a bacteria that causes diarrhea and has 2 nuclei. So you can see they kind of have this almost like smiley face look to them because of the organelles that are inside. So you can use a joke, have a crappy day, right? That's a joke because a lot of times you tell people to have a great day. My husband, who was sitting here in the kitchen, just cracked up when I said that, right? So you can see it's kind of got a smiley face on it, causes diarrhea. So have a crappy day. In the appropriate context, this would definitely probably be appropriate. In our context, probably not. Then we have time. So you want to pace yourself. You don't want to talk too fast and you don't want to talk too slow. Most people go too fast, right? Miss Wolf is definitely a candidate of the go too fast crew. You want to make sure that you are kind of breathing, taking your time, allowing your brain time to process all of its thoughts as you're presenting. So you're not saying things like, kind of, all of that time, right? You don't want to stay on one slide for too long either, right? So you don't want to spend like 2 minutes on one slide and no minutes on the next slide, right? The best way for you guys to kind of become comfortable with giving your presentation is to practice. So today you are going to have some practice time that you're going to be able to kind of work through your presentation so that you're ready. The next thing when we talk about presenting is talking. We want to talk to your audience. Do not read off of your slides. Move around if you can. Now, we're unfortunately going to be doing this remotely. So you guys are going to be on like a Google Meet. So you can't move too much. But I'm sure that you guys who can see Miss Wolf when she does present, and I've included my little face in a box over here, you know that I will move even here as I'm sitting talking to you, right? I'll lean in, I'll lean back, I talk with my hands, right? We want to make eye contact with people in the class. Now, when you're presenting on a computer like this with a camera, the best way to do that is to actually look at the camera, not at your presentation. So I'm sure that you guys can tell by watching in the corner when I'm looking down to reference my slide versus when I'm looking up at you guys. So having this eye contact at the camera really lets people think that you're making eye contact with them because they're staring at your face when you're presenting or they're looking at your presentation. So this is a great way to have eye contact. We also want to make sure that we are speaking loud enough. A lot of you guys, when you present, you talk really quiet like this, and I can't hear a word that you're saying, and you just give your entire presentation monotone like that. You probably could not hear much of what I said just there, especially since there's background noise in my house. But basically, what I was saying that a lot of you guys do is you talk very quietly and very monotonely when you give a presentation. When I say talk monotone, it kind of means like this, where you don't use any inflection in your voice. You keep the same tone throughout, right? Notice that when Miss Wolf talks or other teachers talk, we use what we call inflection. So sometimes we're speaking at higher sound, right? So we're like asking a question, our voice goes up. Sometimes we're talking lower, we're including emotion in our voice, and we're varying the way that our voice sounds. We're not just speaking on one single sound the whole time. So we want to make sure that we're speaking loudly enough. We want to make eye contact. We want to make sure that we're speaking, not reading. So know what you're going to say ahead of time, right? Or alternatively, be really good at making it up on the spot. Know enough about your topic that on the spot, you can kind of create what you need to. I definitely recommend to kind of have an idea of what you want to say beforehand and practice it, right? So those are the keys to us when we want to give a presentation. So let's wrap up with our conclusion. So remember, at the beginning, we told the audience what we were going to tell them. With our conclusion and a presentation, you're going to wrap up by telling the audience what you told them. So today, what we reviewed slide formatting, specifically keeping our slides balanced and simple. The style of slides. So we talked about fonts, backgrounds, and animations. And then finally, we talked about presentation tips. So we talked about attention span, creativity, humor, timing, and talking. So all of these things are going to help you do your best. What I want you guys to do now is take your presentation, practice it. What I definitely recommend doing is in the upper corner, if you guys can use Screencastify to record yourself giving the presentation. So it'll kind of open up like with this little box. You can just record yourself giving your presentation and then going back and watching it. You can also have somebody at home record it or do it in front of a mirror. Miss Wolf existed in the time before cool things like Screencastify existed. And when I used to have to practice my presentations, I had to go into a mirror, right? I would just give my presentation in front of a mirror and then I would watch myself to see like Where am I getting weird? Where am I saying weird things? Where do I need to read less and practice more? So I recommend you guys try to practice giving your presentation at least 2 times today. If you can record yourself somehow giving it, I definitely recommend you do that and then go back and watch it again to kind of see areas where you can make improvements. And then on Friday, we are going to go ahead and we are going to actually give the presentation. Now, on Friday, you're going to want to wear something a little nice because we're giving a presentation. We don't want to wear a ratty t-shirt with a huge hole in it. So try to look a little nicer on Friday to give your presentation. You don't have to dress up in a full suit and tie, but definitely have something of a nicer quality on. That is everything I have for you guys today. I hope you are doing well, and I'll talk with you more later. Bye, guys.